it going? Might say, howdy ho. Yeah. So what I want to talk about, I actually didn't really want to talk, but then I decided, you know, what the heck. But what I want to talk about is art is my passion. And you may have realized that already because my channel is full with art. And there's probably a couple of things that one might say about it. I mean, how did I get there? How did I get to say that art is my passion? And has it always been so? Well, I can definitely say no. Why? Well, I'm just going to show you a little. Hey, now you can see that a bit better because the background is white. But I want to be more in the background. So I'm generally quite an adaptive character, you might say. And also something I picked up, right? I mean, I work with what I have available and I managed now to fix it, and I've shown you that already. I'm gonna do that again at a later point. And I didn't look it up, but I simply remembered it. And this is in a way maybe how you might talk about art. It's, although you might have never done it, in a way you remember, because the things that I'm drawing, I have never done this until I did it. And then suddenly it's like, whoa, it's almost like I've always done it. But then I realize, you start thinking about it. You draw an image and it works out perfectly. And then you think, whoa, amazing. And, where did that come from? And then you put it, how I work with my art. Usually, that's how I started at first. I drew on paper because I just had some papers flying around, like art things that I had since a child, but never used them. And the reason I started with doing art was because I was depressed. I was really unhappy. I had really negative thoughts, like really, really negative thoughts. Really, really negative thoughts. It went so far. I had suicide thoughts. I know I would never have done it, but they were there, and I had to find a way to deal with it. And because I was reluctant to give up, I literally remember there was one night, and I was laying on my mattress, and I was just holding on to something. And what I was holding on that night was music. And that was about 1.5 years ago or something. And just everything I had ever tried in my life had failed. And I was really depressed. That was the worst I've ever been. I had no courage to live anymore. And I was lying on that very mattress that's now this one here. And I was listening to a song, and it came up, and I was lying there and I was wasting away in my depression. And this song came up, and it was dum 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 psh, another one bites the dust. Dun dun dun. Another one bites the dust. Yeah. Maybe I'll just look up the lyrics. And I literally, nobody knew how to deal with me. And the only suggestion I got was, well, maybe you should go to a psychiatrist. But I didn't want that because I realized that the ideas that I had were exceptional. I did have the feeling because I already had written a book about fear, so I knew there was something going on. I had a podcast that was up and running, but I was just screwed over so many times by people that I have put my faith in. That was women, that were people that called themselves my friends, right? I put my faith into them, and every time I did that, they screwed me over. And that was then the last time that a person that I did consider a friend throw me out of his apartment, and for good reason also. I don't really deny that. It's just hard to accept such a thing because you feel like everything's just crumbling away beneath you. And so I crashed at my parents' again, which was the place I had tried to escape a couple of times already in my life. But now I found myself there again. And the thing is, how do you deal with that? Well, I realized I can't really trust anyone. I realized I cannot really trust anyone. And that is quite hard. So the only person that I can trust is me, because everybody else is just talking about stuff, and I was always listening to them. But when it came to actually doing these things, nobody really did anything. So the closest to help I got was that my father said to me, push through. And I took that as, okay, I'm just gonna do everything now that I have within me, and I'm going to push through, and I'm going to never look back again, and I'm going to fucking jump on that horse, and I'm going to tame it. And that horse is a lot of power that a lot of us have inside of them, but that they never use because they are afraid of it. Because you can go mad, and you can become quite an asshole. Like, this can easily backfire. But I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose. And so the only thing I could do was to move forward, and I've done that ever since. And the struggle has yet to it's never stopped. It's continued to be a struggle. The struggle did become a bit easier, that's for sure, and I started to do more and more things, but it started with these images. And the way it started was, I was drinking a lot of coffee at the time just to keep me going, and I was eating only pancakes with sugar. Well, that has slightly changed. Now I eat pancakes with peanut butter. I don't really put extra sugar on top anymore. And I just ate as much as I could, just so that I would keep being a little high. And that also showed me that anything you ingest is basically psychedelic, because it's just like matters of getting high. And if I eat sugar, it gets me high. If I drink a coffee, it gets me high. I can drink tea in a certain degree, it gets me high. But I also realized I need food. If I don't eat, I fade away. And it's quite interesting to say that, because if any of you have ever watched the movie, how is it called? Spirited Away. Yeah. There's a lot of great wisdom in there that I have experienced myself, and that I can say, I don't know if he knew what he was talking about, but whatever he was talking about, in some of the movies that I watch, they hold a lot of wisdom. I don't think they actually realize that it's wisdom, Because unless you've had the experience, you cannot confirm whether it's true or not. Well, I've had the experience that was being depicted there when Sun, Shihiro, she is starting to fade away. And then, what's his name again? This dragon guy. And he comes and he says, you have to eat something from this world or you will fade away. But he also says to her, well, if you eat this, it's fine, you won't turn into a pig. And now you have to look like very deep into the bucket of wisdom that the internet may provide to you, or whatever source you're using, because Jesus told the people, you say you are what you eat. If you eat animals, you become like an animal. When you look at the Lord of the Rings, the elves eat basically vegan, and they are light beings. The dwarves are like, they burp and beer. The women are also like this. They're not very lightful being. They're like a bit dirty. Well, and they eat a lot of meat and stuff. And the same for humans. They also eat a lot of meat and drink beer and stuff. So, you are what you eat, it's true. And I realize that people who eat a lot of meat and animal products, they become like animals. Not in the sense that they look like them, but their consciousness is literally trapped on their basic instincts. And the way they talk with each other, it's not very respectful. It's more like all the time they're snarling at each other. It's like, that's what you get on the streets. That's what I see even within family constellations, that people are constantly snarling at each other. And I've realized that depending on what I eat and how I eat, I change. And I was realizing that when I drank a lot of coffee and I ate a lot of sugar, I was really, really, you become like this. You are what you eat. But I didn't care, because art is my passion. But it is not just a passion. It's also my way to deal with how I'm feeling. So with my art, I transform all my emotions, but also the emotions of other people, because I see a lot. When you grow spiritually and your third eye opens and you do some cleansing and you start to awaken and you look at the world and suddenly you see like all the layers that you had in front of your vision, they just start falling away and falling away. And you start seeing truth, what's actually going on in the world, and how fucked up everything is, how toxic the environment is that this modern world has created, society has created, science has created. You start to become a little bit anxious, because now how are you going to live in this kind of world where everybody is lying, where everybody is, feasting on the flesh of living beings that are kept by the millions in these slaughterhouses that never see daylight, that are being treated like they are not alive at all. And I've seen some of these movies, but I don't have to watch them all the time. Some of these vegans, they keep watching them like they have to remind themselves that they shouldn't eat meat. But for me, I know it, so I made a conscious decision. I said I don't want to eat meat. I do still eat eggs, because I feel like at this stage I still need some kind of protein, and I do still eat occasionally cheese. But mostly, I try to stay away from these things. But So for me, it's basically, if I don't do the things that I'm doing, I'm starting to feel depressed again. So there is no way back for me. And that's why I just keep going. That's why since August, I have created more than 1,000 posts on Instagram. Some days I have uploaded 20 new posts to Instagram, and yesterday I think it was 30. And I do art in whatever way that comes to my mind. I take pictures, I do photography. Sometimes I fiddle around with these pictures and I bring out the colors. Recently I started to do more black and white because I quite like that. Then I do images that I solely render on the computer. I use GIMP, I use Linux because it's an honest operating system that I believe does not steal my data and that works great. I have a fairly small laptop, and everything I do with this thing. Like this is like a 13-inch screen, I think. Yeah, something like that. And here it says it's like a i5 8th generation. No, I don't really care. It has 8 GB of RAM. It doesn't do much, but everything I'm doing with that. And I have 6,000 to 4,000 pixel images, and I have a DSLR camera, so I sometimes also draw on paper. And how I do that, some of my recordings, they already show that. I think you can see that in the world in color. I have explained how I do this. You can look at that. Maybe I'm just going to check which one that is. And it's not an easy thing for me to keep going, because of course, I'm having a lot of anxiety because I'm putting everything that I got onto this, what I have chosen. But the problem is that people seem to be reluctant to truly dive into the things that I am making here. And that, of course, is quite frustrating, but at the same time, I can't really help that. I can't really help that because I want to do this, and if people don't like it, then it's their problem, because I like what I'm doing. And one of the reasons I assume why people cannot see that what I'm doing is actually quite good is because they're too busy with their own lives. That's understandable. I can understand that. Certainly a viable thing. And most people also, they are unable to see beauty in life. And that's what I have discovered. The reason why I take all these pictures is because that's how I see the world. I don't see the world as, that's the screen, that's, I see the world as something that is alive. When I go into nature, I feel like I'm a part of it. Whereas most people feel really separated. And at the moment, I also want to work with that. I separate myself from nature, but I also believe that I can connect with it from further away. Jesus, there's already more than 500 videos on this thing, and they're all different. And I'm not kidding. Of course, I want to earn money with this, and I don't want to lie about it. So I'm just waiting till something happens, and every day you wake up, nothing happens. And then fear comes up, and then I get incredibly angry. But instead of letting it out on other people, I just start creating more content. Because it is impossible that people can ignore this for much longer. That's what I believe. I believe that if you're doing something exceptional, eventually people will... Ah yeah, here it is. The secret of silence is found in the noise. And then there's another one. Speaking truth, 133. And the secret of silence that's found in the noise is number 15, 1-5. You have to look that up yourself. I don't want to put it in there. If you're really interested in seeing how I do this, what the process is, then you have to put in the effort. That is my teaching. Speaking truth, 133 is where I speak about how I do this. And the other one, the secret of silence is found in the noise, 15. This is where I show in an example again how I'm doing this. Anyway, also what I realize, most people are incredible cowards. People are incredible cowards. And that is a very depressing thing. And I'm just gonna, I just love this. I just open a file. And of course, I'm not just doing random stuff. I mean, by now I have quite a lot of experience with doing these kinds of things. So let's say I would want to make a dog. Of course, I already have drawn dogs a couple of times. So I also know how to draw a dog. Right? I'm not doing things that I don't know how to do. Like most of the stuff that I'm doing, I have done this already hundreds of times. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands, I don't know, images out there. Well, maybe I'm not gonna do a dog. Generally, I just pick a color and then I just see what wants to come out. Okay? So I make my mind go blank. This has been described in his Dark Materials, which is the serious name, and the first book is called The Golden Compass. There it's being described how Lyra reads the truth teller, the alethiometer. And the way it's been described there is that she kind of looks at the thing by kind of going out of focus, and that's what I'm doing. Do you know these images that look like all kinds of things, and then you have to look at it and you have to kind of go blank, your mind has to go blank, and then suddenly another image comes out? This is what I'm doing when I'm drawing. I just let my mind go blank, and then I see what wants to come out. And sometimes this scares me a little. Why? Because you don't know. You don't know what's gonna come out. It might be anything. So right now I do have an idea, roughly, but it's also that's why I like actually working with pencil, because if I work just on the screen, I don't have much. It doesn't matter. In the end, it's just a question of, did you do it or did you not do it? So also what my method is, it does not have to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. And that's what I realized. I mean, if you see this, it doesn't look perfect. Yeah? It doesn't look perfect, but it looks the way that it wants to look. And I like this. I actually like it a lot, because every image is something new. And I cannot tell you what it's gonna be. Right? I mean, this could be anything now. And yeah, sometimes I have to make also choices. And sometimes, it's a little hard, especially now when I'm talking about it, because I feel like I have to prove something to someone. And sure, I mean, I do choose the colors also. Right, this I make a little bit darker so that it looks like it's further away. And this I want to look even further away. And then, yeah, you have to choose a color for the eyes. I want this to be like that. But in the end, it really does not matter. And sure, it does help if you have a little bit of experience with animals and how they look like frogs sometimes, or toads, they sometimes have square eyes. You can even make it like this. Because, like I said, it does not really matter. Alright. Okay. So to me, doing these kind of artworks is also a struggle with myself. I'm literally putting up a fight. And I'm deciding whether I want to win this thing or not. And then I have to make sometimes choices while I'm going along, because this specific image, I've never done that, and I always want to introduce change. And that's of course where it gets really complicated, because I don't want my art to become boring. And I do like these kaleidoscopic patterns. So I'm just using the tools that I have. I I spend hours playing around with GIMP and Kden Live, which I use for rendering my videos. I have played hours with these softwares. And then it's just a matter of seeing what it wants to be in the end. So I have then several layers of an image. Yeah, and then you have to look at what wants to show itself. Because I'm not really doing this, and that's the other thing that most people, I assume, have a problem with when it comes to art, because they want to have the feeling that they are the ones doing this. But you're not the one doing this. You know, you have to trust your feeling and see where your feeling is guiding you. And then the problem is, you cannot claim this for yourself. Because if your feeling is telling you this, well then where does it come from, right? Where does it come from? You cannot just say, oh, I'm doing this, you know, I can take all the credit, you know, I'm a super ego guy. Because if I'm trying to do art from a place of, you know, I'm the best there is, it's gonna be shit. It's gonna be really, really terrible. And the reason why my art always looks different, although I do have a certain style, well, it's quite simple. Because I listen to what my heart wants. And that's where the intuition comes from. That's your heart chakra. I don't know how that's called in Sanskrit or something. All I know is that if I would control this, yeah, you can't really see that. Maybe I have to, just for now, so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is now where I got to. And I started, yeah. This is where I started with, okay? And then I added this. First the frog, and then I added the yellow background. And then I created, not this, I created this, which is based on this, but I still have it in there. It's still on top of the layer. And then in the end, you get this. It's like, what? Okay, and now I have always a surprise, which is this one, which is the original image. And I'm just always want to see what else wants to show itself. Because what I'm working with is emotions. So I want to show my emotions in an artistic way. And I have a style I like darkness. And the more I have worked with darkness, the more I have realized actually darkness doesn't really exist. I mean, what we call darkness and what we are super afraid of, you know, we're not afraid of darkness. We're just afraid, right? And if you're just afraid, then darkness is nothing to be afraid of. But for that, of course, you also have to understand a bit about fear and make some experiences. I mean, how could you hate that? I mean, how could you not like this? You know, you don't know. You don't know what's going to show itself in the end. You just don't know. And then sometimes you put it, you know, just one more time, you put it on top, and suddenly something totally different shows itself. I mean, how could you hate that? I mean, how could you hate doing art? And why would you leave it to an AI to make art if you can, you know, what else are you going to do in the time that you would be doing something like this? What else are you going to do in the time where you are dancing? What else are you going to do in the time where you are drawing or doing pottery or making music or doing crochet or carving, you know, making things from wood. You know, what else would you do in that time? You would sit there, look at your phone. What else would you do? You know, if you're not doing this, you would watch porn. You would have meaningless conversations, you know, that can generally be passed as small talk. Or what else would you do? Get drunk, eat something, sit on the toilet. Well, what else is there? What else is there that people do? I can't really decide right now, because they all look kind of great. And that's also something that this has taught me, you know, to simply go with it. You know, at one point you just have to pick one, and then you say, okay, that's that one. You know, I'm just gonna choose this. Cheers. And then I'm gonna see what wants to come out of it. And then what I want to do now, sometimes I do like really random stuff. Now you can see I set the mode of the layer to normal, and then I go and I say, okay, I want to do a kaleidoscope, and I'm going to choose 10. I'm going to do it like this, and I don't see what's happening now. I have no idea what's happening with the image, because I'm choosing a layer that's in the middle and not the top one. And now, you know, I'm going to apply a mode to it, and I'm going to see what comes out of it. And it might be that I like it, and it might also be that I actually prefer the previous one, but I don't know that yet. And if you have done a couple of thousand of these images or hundreds of them, then also your intuition tells you, you know, use this mode, go to this thing, do this now, do that now. And then you just have to let go for the purpose of making art with it. You know, and that now, you know, I'm not too sure, but this one I actually quite like. Because now let's look at where we came from. This, okay, actually didn't change much. But what it did change is it added a bit more random things. And I quite like that. You know, I like that my art is not perfect. And that's how I also see myself, right? Life in general is a lot of chaos. A lot and a lot and a lot of chaos. And that's what I'm trying to reveal. So this is emotional chaos. You know, I don't know why. What is this expressing now? Maybe it's a lot of anger, because red is the color of the root chakra. Blue is the color of truth, the throat chakra. Green is the color of the heart for healing. And love, of course, and opening and starting. You know, this is done now, okay? So at one point I just say, this is done now. And then I don't work on that anymore. And then I also make sure I can't go back, so I clear the image's history. And then I export it in fairly high quality. But also I don't do... Hey, wait, what's this now? Jesus. So today I already uploaded... This is image number 12 now. And I save it in a way that makes sense. And then I give it a name that feels good. You know, I don't just think about it. I think about how I feel about naming it. It's how you would name a child, because this in a way is a child to me. You could call this, for example, healing ignorance. And why do I choose this name? I choose this name because it has crosses over its eyes, and people who are really angry and don't know it, they're ignorant. So if you heal ignorance, it also means you will become more conscious. You start realizing, holy shit, I have been treating animals like objects, and I have been treating other people and myself as objects, and that really, really, really has to change. And so yeah, you see, it's not perfect. If you zoom in, you can see all these pixels, but at the this is now already okay. This is the higher resolution, but for Instagram I always have to shrink it. Anyway, I think this is all I wanted to do. Just wanted to show you this. Yeah, this is what you can do in your spare time, and this is what opens my heart. This is what fills me with love and gives me then also the strength to do other things. So because I was doing this now, I could also talk about something, because I've been doing this for quite a while and I have a lot of experience, and sure, why not do something with your potential, which is always there. You just have to discover it. And sometimes, you have to be in a really, really bad place. And I always post them right away. I don't wait. I don't hold them back. I don't wait for, oh, now is a good time to post it. I finish it and then I get it out there. I don't hold back on these things because I just want to keep going. And then also most of the things, I delete a lot of my stuff also because it's just for the moment. I want to get it out there, and that's all there is to it. Frog, and then you have to, of course, think about some tags, but I just use the ones. This is for Instagram now. I just use the ones that I feel like describe also the general topic of the image. So if somebody looks at the tags, they can actually get a whiff of what this is trying to tell you, because most people, they don't know what I'm expressing here, because they have no idea what nature is. They have no idea what consciousness is. They have no idea what they're feeling, what their emotions are. They're all confused. Right? So I had the other day, somebody contacted me. A lot of people contact me and they say, I want to buy your art as NFTs. And then you start talking to them, and then, it's just a scam. So I had the other day a young woman, she contacted me and asked about something, if I could draw something for her. It was actually about a dog. She wanted me to make an image of her dog. I don't really do that. And she asked me, she would pay me for that if I would draw an image of her dog. And then I said, because she wanted it for a child. And then I said, yeah, I don't really do that, I mean, my images aren't really child material, are they? And then she said nothing to that. She responded and said hello. And then I thought, wait, why does she say hello? To what I said, she said hello, and that doesn't really fit to say hello to that. And so I was a bit confused. And then I said, listen, is that really what you wanted to ask me, if I can draw a picture for your child of a dog that you have? Like, is that why you contacted me? And then she said, I just really like your art, that's all. So you have to understand how people think. She thought that if she asks me to draw a picture for her and she would give me money for that, she thinks that that means she appreciates my art. To me, it's actually disrespectful because, she tries to buy me. This is my freedom, right? This is where I can be free. This is where I can do what I want. And she wants to pay me to draw an image for a child. It's like, it's kind of weird. But anyway, I did say to her at first, it's not really child material, but I did still do it, only not for her child. I did it for her, but also not because she sent me a picture of a dog. But I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna draw images of dogs. Because maybe that's what she needs, right? Maybe she just said for my child, but maybe she meant herself. And I like that, because, I'm not just here to do what I want, because in a way I also do what other people want. I also adapt a bit. Because if you're just angry, because you think, that's what people need, a really angry person. But what they actually need is somebody who's a bit nice. And so I just made 4 images of dogs. And at least that to her could show, depends, right? If she's able to see this, she could say, hey, cool. I mean, at least he drew images of dogs, right? Because I can't, you cannot give me an image of your dog because, I don't care about dogs. I mean, as much as I like them, but I want to work with humans because a dog cannot understand what I'm trying to tell it. I'm trying to speak to humans because it's humans that buy dogs to make themselves feel happy. So it's humans that need happiness. It's humans, a lot of people have a dog because humans are assholes. And so they rather have a dog because, a dog is always your friend, right? He's always wagging his tail. But what we have to learn is how to get along as humans, right? And that's what we need to understand. And that's why, am I going to draw an image of a dog for a child? Or am I going to do it for the mother? Because the mother asked me. She just put the child in front, right? I mean, this is like understanding how people think, right? How they express their emotions. Because if you just would listen to the words, you wouldn't understand anything. But now I was able to understand how she felt and why she contacted me. But I also realized that in a lot of cases, emotions cannot truly express what you're feeling. But an image can. An image says more than 1,000 words. Because words have a lot of room for interpretation. Because people give all kinds of meaning to these words. But if you make an image, that's the language of emotion. If you say nothing, that's the language of emotion. And that's where we have to get to learn how to communicate without words. Because if we always try to listen to words, we cannot communicate. That's the Tower of Babel. We have to look at our opposite and we have to pay attention. But most people, they never pay attention to anyone but themselves because they're all selfish. And that's why I just started to stop speaking with the people in my surroundings. So anyway, I have something. Gonna be busy at 7, so I'm going to end this stream. Nobody watched it anyway, but I still said something about it. And I think that's what's important, because when people want to, they can have a look at it and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I've already said that. So I say cheerio.